The Ohio State Buckeyes were this close to playing for a national championship last season after a field goal against Georgia just went way wide. However, program expectations around Columbus have not changed, and this is one of the betting favorites to win the national title in 2023. However, some people are starting to question whether or not Ryan Day is the man for the job. So will the Ohio State Buckeyes avenge their Maize and Blue demons and get to Indianapolis and win a national championship? Or will the Ohio State Buckeyes fall to Michigan for the third year in a row and fail to reach Indianapolis in the process? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite teams. So why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But there are more ways you can help support my channel. You're doing one by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you can think of to help support my channel. I'm very grateful for whatever you guys may be able to do. Let's talk about Ohio State in 2023. How do preview predictions work this season? Well, we're going to go through a roster overview. We're going to take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class. And then we're going to go through breakdown game-by-game preview and predict the Ohio State Buckeyes football schedule in 2023. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2023, who lose quarterback C.J. Stroud, one of the premier players across the nation over the past couple of seasons. Last year at 3,688 yards with 66% completion percentage, 41 touchdowns and 6 interceptions last season. He was a phenomenal player for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but someone else will be quarterbacking the offense this season, whether that's Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. Both very solid options, both with limited playing experience, but Kyle McCord definitely has more playing experience than Devin Brown, and when McCord has played, he has looked pretty good. So I give the early edge in the quarterback conversation to Kyle McCord, although again, Devin Brown is going to push for that starting job this year. Now, I have made this analogy before, and I will talk about why here in a little bit, but whoever gets the quarterback position for Ohio State this year has been given the keys to your favorite luxury vehicle, and all he's got to do is keep the thing on the road. Let me explain why. This is one of the most talented running back rooms in the entire country if it can stay healthy. Keyword being if it can stay healthy. They return Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson as well as Dallin Hayden, over 1,900 yards of production returning in that running back room. Williams led the way with 825 yards, 14 touchdowns. He battled some injuries as well as Travion Henderson, 571 yards and 6 touchdowns after a breakout campaign in 2022. And then Dallin Hayden was a really good freshman for the Buckeyes last year. You also do return Evan Pryor to that running back room. Really good running back room there. Also the nation's best wide receiver room. Although you do lose Jackson Smith-Njigba, who again was not a huge piece last season because of injuries, you return 2 of the best wide receivers in the entire nation. Marvin Harrison Jr., 1,263 yards, 14 touchdowns last year, is the best wide receiver in college football, and very well what could be the second best wide receiver in college football, Emeka Egbuka, had 1,151 yards, 10 touchdowns last season. You also return Julian Fleming, among some other names in the wide receiver room, as well as some high-profile freshmen like Carnell Tate, who exploded in the spring, and Brandon Ennis come in as well. Brandon Ennis, a 5-star wide receiver recruit coming into this program. The tight end room, a lot of Buckeye fans surprised to find out that they will return tight end Cade Stover, who was the 4th leading receiver last year with 406 yards, 5 touchdowns, played some big minutes, and G. Scott will be that backup tight end coming back. The offensive line has got some question marks. You lose Paris Johnson, DeJuan Jones, and Luke Whippler, so trying to fill those guys in is a little bit of a question mark for Ohio State this year. However, you do get 2 really good players back, starters from last season in Matthew Jones and Donovan Jackson, and to help along the edges on the outside of the offensive line, you get a transfer in from San Diego State in Josh Simons. On the defensive line, you're going to lose a couple of really good players in Zach Harrison, who was the 6th leading tackler last year, 34 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and Jerron Cage, the big man on the defensive line, is gone there as well. However, this is going to be one of the most dangerous and lethal defensive lines in the entire country. JT Tuimoloau was a beast last year. He'll be joined by Jack Sawyer, Michael Hall, and Tyleik Williams. Tuimoloau, 3.5 sacks. Jack Sawyer, 4.5 sacks. Michael Hall, 4.5 sacks there as well. lots of talent on this defensive line among some players that I did not even mention here as well. Linebacking room, you're going to lose Javonte Jean-Baptiste, had 4 sacks for the team last year, but this is going to be one of the most experienced linebacking rooms Ohio State's had in a while. Tommy Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, were your 2 leading tacklers last year. Both of them come back. Cody Simon and C.J. Hicks also return in the linebacker room for Ohio State. And then the defensive backer in the secondary, you lose some really good talent. Ronnie Hickman is gone, led the team in passes defended with 7, along with former Oklahoma State Cowboy Tanner McAllister and Cameron Brown will all leave the secondary this season. McAllister led the way with 3 picks for the Buckeyes last year. You get some really good pieces back in Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke, but a lot of it is coming through the transfer portal for this Buckeye defense. Jahad Carter is a real high-profile transfer coming over from Syracuse, and Davison Igbinosun was spectacular as a freshman last year for Ole Miss and will be a great piece to this Buckeye secondary in 2023. The offense is going to be one of the best in the nations, and whoever plays quarterback, all they have to do is be good but not great. And with the talent on this Buckeye defense that's been criticized in the past, it definitely should be a lot better in 2023. I have faith in that, as well as some other people do. Your head coach, of course, is Ryan Day. New offensive coordinator for the Buckeyes is Brian Hartline, and your defensive coordinator in his second year is Jim Knowles. As we take a look at the Buckeyes' schedule in 2023, if you see a game where the Buckeyes are going to be playing in the Horseshoe in Ohio Stadium at home, it's going to be underlined. Any game on the road is in italics, or the slanted text. A game in green is a game I have the Buckeyes winning easily. Any game in yellow is okay. The other team is going to push Ohio State, make them fight a little bit, but it is a game I have Ohio State winning. And then a game in red, of course, is a loss. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, your Ohio State Buckeyes begin the 2023 season on the road with a Big Ten opponent in Indiana. Now, I talked about this in my Michigan video, but Indiana, I just do not think is going to be very good at all. They lose a lot of talent through the transfer portal. That quarterback is gone. A lot of pieces on defense are gone, and Tom Allen could very well see his way out the door this year. I think Ohio State gets a fairly easy win there against Indiana in week 1. Week 2, they play Youngstown State. That's an FCS level team. No reason to explain why Ohio State's winning that one. They will outclass Youngstown State in every fashion, as they will also do with Western Kentucky. So 3-0 to start out the Ohio State football season with 3 easy wins, and then it's like you're hitting a brick wall. Pretty easy game there against Indiana. Youngstown State, Western Kentucky are easy, and then you go on the road to play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This was a pretty solid game to watch last season, but it happened in week 1. This one is being played in week 4, and Notre Dame has definitely got a lot of really good pieces this year. That defense is going to continue to be really good for Notre Dame, but you also are getting Sam Hartman coming in, and he's got a lot of pieces to work with. That big play ability of Sam Hartman has plagued Ohio State in the past. Not specifically with Sam Hartman, but just the big play, just being able to stop the big play in general has sort of really plagued Ohio State. But again, I think this defense is going to be a lot better in 2023. It could end up being a top 30, if not top 20 defense across the entire nation. And this Ohio State offense, I think, has too many weapons, no matter who's at quarterback, for Notre Dame to really keep up offensively. Sam Hartman is going to make a lot of plays, and I think this Notre Dame defense is going to halt the Ohio State offense to some degree, but the Buckeyes will have too much firepower offensively, and I think Ohio State goes on the road, wins a very close competitive game against Marcus Freeman's Fighting Irish. And then you get your bye week really early in the season here after the game against Notre Dame. Great to rest up before the rest of your Big Ten slate in a game against Maryland. Now, I think Maryland is a sleeper team in the Big Ten this year, and Maryland gave fits to Ohio State last year. But again, I expect this defense to be a lot better. Talia Tagovailoa is going to make some plays that will give Ohio State's defense trouble. But once it's all said and done, I think Ohio State will end up winning this game by 14 or more points. Just too much firepower for Maryland's defense to handle. This Ohio State offense has one of the best offenses in the nation. Will continue to roll in Week 7 against Purdue. Now, Purdue, I think, has a chance to be a really solid team in the Big Ten this season. But again, Ohio State's offensive firepower, I think, going to be too much. And I think this is the game where the defense is going to show out here as well and make a couple really huge plays. So Ohio State easily, I think, is going to be able to beat Purdue. Then you got 2 really tough games coming up here for the Buckeyes. You're at home against Penn State. Now, the Nittany Lions are going to be the real deal this season. Drew Aller is that quarterback, and he is projected to be fantastic. You got one of the best running back rooms in the entire country. Penn State's going to be very physical on the offensive and defensive lines there as well, and they're going to make life difficult for Ohio State here. And I think Penn State's going to put up a very, very good fight, and this Penn State defense is legit. Ohio State will get a real true test with this offense, but I think Ohio State, much like what happened last season, the defense is going to step up. It's going to make some plays in this game against Penn State, and then the offense here as well. I think, again, too much firepower, even for a defense of Penn State's caliber to be able to handle. Penn State gives Ohio State a run for their money, but I do think that the Buckeyes will come out victorious and improve to 7-0. Then you go on the road to play the Wisconsin Badgers in what I think is going to be another really tough game for the Buckeyes to handle. Luke Fickell is the main man in town there. They got an underrated quarterback in Tanner Mordecai. Some great options. Of course, you know the running back story. Braylon Allen is there. He's going to be phenomenal, as well as Ches Malusi. That wide receiver room has got some real guys in it, and we know, especially with a defensive mind like Luke Fickell coming in there, that Wisconsin defense is going to be really good. So kind of the same story as Penn State here, right? I think Wisconsin's defense is going to challenge Ohio State's offense. I think it's going to push it back and give Ohio State some fits here. This is really the first tough road environment Ohio State is going to face since week 4 against Notre Dame here in week 9 against Wisconsin. But again, I think Wisconsin is just maybe 1 year away in the Luke Fickell era. And I think the Buckeyes offensively will do enough and have enough firepower to be able to get through this Wisconsin team. And last year, they were able to stop Braylon Allen with effective ease. They could do that again in 2023. Couple ones for the Buckeyes come up here that I'm not too worried about. Rutgers, of course, Ohio State's going to outclass the Scarlet Knights. That should be an easy win for Ohio State. You get Michigan State at home, and I think that's going to be another easy win for the Buckeyes. Too many question marks for the Spartans. Who plays quarterback? Who's going to come in and replace Keon Coleman? And while I think the Spartans have some very, very nice defensive pieces there, the offense is not all going to be there in a game that Ohio State, I think, will perform really well. And then Minnesota. Minnesota's losing a lot of physicality with Mo Ibrahim being gone, and they lose a lot on the offensive line as well. And while there are enough pieces to be a really good, sneaky, competitive team in the Big Ten for Minnesota this year, I can't trust them against a firepower like this Ohio State offense, which sets up a game against Michigan. If you've watched my Michigan preview, you know I got both teams coming in here undefeated, and I could talk about this game forever. But I only got a limited amount of time. This feels like a perfect storm for Michigan, right? J.J. McCarthy comes back. Blake Corum comes back. There's a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. The offensive line is going to be really good, and that defense is probably going to be a top 10 defense, if not top 5 in the entire nation this year. And that secondary, I think with Kyle McCord, Marvin Harrison, and Emeka Egbuka, they're going to make some plays against this Michigan secondary, but I love what the Michigan secondary has. I don't think I outright said it in my Michigan video, but they're my favorites to win the national championship. Ohio State falls to Michigan there at the end of the season. I think Michigan's toughness and physicality, much like the past couple of years, will outperform Ohio State. The Buckeyes keep it close and competitive to fall to 11-1. This team absolutely can beat Michigan and go 12-0. I don't see them doing worse than 10-2. They can absolutely get back to Indianapolis, but this team, even sitting at 11-1, not making the Big Ten championship game, should be a real considerate to get back in the college football playoff as one of the nation's best teams. And that's going to do it for this prediction video. Let me know what you guys think. Be sure, like, comment, subscribe, anything you can. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next one.